There's a village in Wales. I've been there actually. It's called Nelson, and it's deemed problematic.
Oh.
Well, as far as I know, it's always been called Nelson.
Why is it problematic?
Remember, of course,
the
I
name
am
is
half Welsh.
The name is
Welsh.
Right.
Let's talk to Natasha Asghar, who is a member of the Welsh Parliament and represents South Wales East, member of the Welsh Conservative Party. Natasha, good evening.
Good evening, Nash. How are you both?
evening.
Thanks so much for being here today.
Excellent.
We're very good. We're very good. Now, I'm half Welsh. My mother came from Rumney. And as I like to point out when I think it does me good, but then I have a go at the Welsh language and they all get upset with me.
Yeah.
But I won't do that to you tonight, I promise. Tell me why Nelson is deemed to be problematic.
So frankly, a document was given to me a few weeks ago. So Nelson falls in a part of my constituency called Caerphilly. Caerphilly is made up of lots of little villages.
Well.
Yeah, carefully. Yeah.
Of course. So just for the benefit of your viewers or listeners, it's a small constituency, but nonetheless, it's a beautiful area. And it's been raised since the BLM movement, also known to many as the Black Lives Matter movement. They basically went town by town, village by village, and created a traffic light system. So based on green being absolutely fine name-wise, there was an amber list, and then there was only one name that cropped up as the red alert, I should say, and that was Nelson. And they felt that it was linked to Nelson, and Nelson had, or some way, somehow was linked to slavery, and therefore the name should be changed in every aspect. And for me, it was
you told them to go and do one.
To be honest with you, I find it completely shocking. We're all absolutely bamboozled as to why on earth this was even spoken of.
Why would the Welsh Parliament give Black Lives Matter any kind of?
I think they were black sailors anyway with Nelson, and they weren't slaves. They were properly paid, respected sailors.
The Parliament itself, it's the council, and they're the ones who created this document, but they've presented it in such a way that obviously, if you need to change a name of a particular place, you're going to need funding for it, which essentially probably would come from the Welsh government itself. Now, I can think of 1,000,001 things to spend taxpayers' money on than changing the name of a location. I completely sympathise with the Black Lives Matter movement. I understand, people
No, we're going to fall out. No, all lives matter, right? Not just black lives. All lives. And also, Black Lives Matter are a very nasty bunch if you look into their history and where they were created. And all they're doing in this country, I must tell you this, all they're doing in this country is bringing back the racism of the past, and it can't be allowed.
I'm a person of colour, so I understand that racism has existed for many years. People of colour have experienced hardships over the years, but equally,
I understand that too.
You can't go back in the past and change the beginning, but what you can do is now change the outcome. But I'm a huge believer that it's important to do it in a civilized manner at the end of the day. And if you have got grievances, if you have got issues, you should speak it to them. You should speak to politicians, individuals, charities, etc., and make a change in a positive way, not in a negative way. And I think what happened here.
You cannot change the name of a town that has been called that for years. Okay.
I agree. Yeah,
What was it called before Nelson? What was it called before?
From my understanding, it was always called Nelson. It was not.
But before Nelson, must have been called something before Nelson, though.
Oh, do you know what it is in Welsh? Nelson.
Nelson. What is it? What does it mean? Is it a Welsh?
You don't, do you? You don't.
You're Welsh now. My Welsh is abhorrent. In fact, I had a
South Wales. They don't really do Welsh much today, in South Wales.
Well, that's Achyddi. Achyddi.
That's Yiddish.
No, that's
Welsh.
pure Welsh. I do know for a fact the things like Bore da, which is good morning, Noch da, good
I'm glad
night.
you know that.
Good night. Diolch yn fawr is thank you. And then if you're really, really smart, when you come to Wales, I'm sure you had this experience when you came here, you would see some of the road signs. So things like Araf means slow. And things like Cardiff is not Cardiff, it's Cardiff.
Can you do the national anthem? Can you do it, the whole thing? And the ending?
I can hum the tune shamefully.
That's a nice tune, actually. Yeah, it's a nice tune.
Yeah, but you know, Natasha, what I like about you is you have a sense of humour and you have charm. And so many politicians, particularly local ones in Wales, and I've spent a lot of time in Wales, particularly when I was a lot younger, are the most miserable people I think I've ever met.
It used to be called
I used to
Fossey
tell my
Gerdinen.
grandfather this. He used to be really annoyed with me.
I'm really genuinely sorry to hear that. But one thing is for sure, and I can guarantee this: I'm not a typical politician by a long shot. So I'm
Not
glad you think
typically
so.
Welsh either, but anyway.
You're
not Welsh, are you?
No.
You were born in
100%. I was
Wales.
born
She's
in
Welsh,
Wales,
I mean,
raised in Wales, and then went
You
to
have
London
no
to study.
accent. Yeah.
Do you consider
know.
yourself Welsh or British? Because I mean, a lot of people from different communities, like me, maybe I'm British rather than English, or you know what I mean. How do you consider yourself? Are you Welsh, British, or what?
Can I be honest with you? When I was growing up in Wales, I was very proud. I still am very proud to be Welsh, but I very much consider myself British. At the end of the day, for me, we're all part of one united kingdom. So for me, it's all about being British, and I'm very proud of that. So I've lived in England as much as I've lived in Wales. So for me, they both are very close to my heart.
Where were you brought up in Wales?
So there's a beautiful city here called Newport. My parents settled here. I was born here, raised here, went to school here, and ended up going back to London. Well, going to London for university, and just ended up staying.
Yeah, I used to spend my summer holidays on the beach in Porthcawl.
Oh wow, that's amazing! I think I spent a lot of my childhood in Barry Island, Porthcawl, so that's fantastic. We must have bumped into each other randomly.
Wow.
I recognise you from somewhere. Were you surfing there once? Maybe
she's much younger than you.
Younger than me. Yeah, all right. I knew you were going to say that.
Do you know something? I learned how to surf, but I didn't learn how to surf in Wales, unfortunately. I learned how to surf in Hawaii. So I think unless we bumped into each other there, I don't think it was me.
No, I have a surf on Rest Bay in Porthcawl. It's a good surfing.
What were you doing in Hawaii?
I went on vacation. I was working in TV at the time, and I wanted a bit of a holiday. So I thought, you know what? The one place I really want to see is Hawaii. So let me just, book a trip and go.
Television. You're in television. Interesting.
Did you work for HTV?
For HTV? No, sadly not. I worked for a number of TV channels. In London, a few ethnic channels. I had a chat show for a few years, a music show. I did a cooking show for a while. So I've been around the block a little bit when it comes to TV and radio. But then I decided I wanted to give politics a go, and here we are.
Wow. I did a show for HTV back in the early 80s. No, late 80s, early 90s. And I can't remember what her name was. It was Friday Night with So-and-so, me and a couple of other guys. It was a bit of a rip-off of Esther Ranson's That's Life.
Yeah.
And I remember I've told this story before, I'll bore everybody with it again. We were in rehearsal and the audience were in.
I've heard this so many times.
The director came out and said, James, he said, do you think you could speak in a little more of a Welsh accent? And my mother was sitting in the audience that night and she ripped into him.
Yeah.
Really ripped into him.
I want to hear it now. Can you speak some Welsh accent for me? I'd be really, really flattered if you did.
Oh, okay. What's the matter, love? You're looking a little peaky today. You all right? There's lovely for you. There's lovely for you. What a lovely smile. I've got a bit of a throat tonight. So
by the way, Nelson was originally called Fossey Gerdinen, which is pronounced Fossey Gerdinen in Welsh.
Okay. As far as I was aware.
Yeah,
I can imagine serious Googling was taking place while we were talking about Wales.
Yeah, they Googled it.
Why have the local politicians in Caerphilly or Nelson decided they would align themselves with this ridiculous idea? Because I would bet you that the people who actually live there don't want it.
They don't. And if I'm honest with you, I went there on Friday and to see for myself, because I've been to Caerphilly a few times. I've driven past Nelson and through it, but I've not actually been there physically for a long time. And every shop is either Nelson's Takeaway, Nelson's Pub, Nelson's Newsagent. Everything has the word Nelson in it. So to change it would cost a lot of money. And
Natasha, I have to say goodbye to you now because they're going to stick the news right on.